What's going on, everyone? So, The Mummy, the classic Mummy, came out in 1999. An absolute classic. Seriously. I love that movie. It's one of those movies that you can watch over and over again. The Mummy and Mummy 2. They had, several spin-offs. And, it's really evolved into this, franchise, right? They had, three sequels. And then they had kind of the spin-offs with Scorpion King and all that stuff and The Rock and things like that. But the main mummies are forever a classic, in my opinion, right? Brendan Fraser was fantastic. We're in this new renaissance. He's back into the spotlight. People love him once again. He still appears to be just a great guy, very humble, very down to earth. Obviously, I don't know him, so I can only speak on what we see, but that's kind of what you see from him, right? And so it makes sense that, hey, we're in this era of bringing back these classic franchises. We're in this era of bringing back these classic films. You have Brendan Fraser at an all-time high. Why not create a new Mummy? Why not make another Mummy? However, we are getting a new Mummy, but it doesn't appear like it's going to be a sequel. It appears that it's going to kind of be a new adaptation, a new story. So here is the intel, right? A new The Mummy movie is in the works. Lee Cronin from The Evil Dead Rise, which sounds exciting, just that, is set to direct in theaters on April 17th, 2026. The fact that Lee Cronin from The Evil Dead Rise is going to be doing this, I'm actually really excited for it, because now you're going to get this kind of mummy horror film, which is what it always has been to an extent. It's been more like adventure type thing, but I do think, now that you have kind of the modern times and what the Mummy always was, it would be nice to kind of get this more horror route, have better just effects, and like when the mummy's sucking someone's soul out, pause, right? Things like that I think would be really cool. I think it'd be a nice kind of creative way to go about it. You could do some awesome practical and special effects and stuff like that. But we are getting confirmation that we're going to get it. And it's something that is expected to be terrifying. So Cronin himself teased his new The Mummy movie will be terrifying. Like I mentioned, goes into all the spin-offs and stuff like that. And that they plan on kind of digging into deep earth to raising something very ancient and very terrifying is kind of the idea. So from Blumhouse Productions, Lee Cronin, writer and director of 2023's Evil Dead Rise, is on board to write and direct this new take for horror film specialist Blumhouse Productions. So again, it's going to be a Blumhouse product. This will be unlike any mummy movie you ever laid your eyeballs on, Cronin says. I'm digging deep into the earth to raise something very ancient and very frightening, is what he said. So, again, kind of appears like it's going to be this horror adaptation, like it's going to be kind of a more darker, potential gorier, more brutal version. It's expected, again, we have a release date, April 17th, 2026. So this is happening, right? This is going to be something that we're going to get some nice balance. Now, hopefully, it's not the Tom Cruise The Mummy that came out, in 2017, I think it was. It was supposed to be the beginning of this dark universe, and they were going to do all this crazy stuff. And then it was horrible and absolutely tanked and absolutely bombed. And guess what happened? They decided to cancel the horror universe. That was the end of that. So that didn't last very long, which is crazy because, Tom Cruise, but it was just a really bad movie. I don't know how many people actually saw it based on the ticket sales and stuff like that. Not a lot, but in all seriousness, it wasn't a good movie. And that was the problem, right? It was like one of those movies where they try to do something, thought just because it's Tom Cruise, it's going to have a ton of success, we're going to make a ton of money, and it just didn't work out the way that they wanted to. So as long as it's not like that, as long as it's not like Tom Cruise's The Mummy, great. I'm fine. I'm on board. Um, Again, we don't have confirmation either way of whether this is going to be a direct sequel, at least at the time of recording this video. It's very possible new information has came out. But at the time of recording this, we just got the announcement that it's going to be coming out, that's going to be released. And I think you got to have Brendan Fraser back in it and stuff like that. I think you got to kind of go that route, right? My guess is that this is just going to be its own thing. My guess is that they'll probably leave that, but like, can't have Brendan Fraser in as like a cameo or like, like a mentor and advisor. He's old, he's retired, he's living his best life. He ain't in the position to go run around and chase mummies, right? So maybe he's an advisor, or maybe he's like funding these archaeological digs and stuff. And you can get creative with it. Come on, it's Brendan Fraser. You got to have him in it, right? Like, I think that would be cool. I think that could be something kind of entertaining, something kind of fun. Because again, like I said, I don't think you can go the like continuation route, because Brendan Fraser, run around chasing mummies now might be a little tough. But I think, again, you can kind of find some creative ways to have him in the movie, right? But what I mean by like continuations, do you go the continuation route of, keeping the continuity of the stories? Do you maybe bring back Emotep? Do you go a different route? I mean, the Emotep story is kind of over. We saw him go to hell and stuff. So, like, or the underworld, right? So, like, is it something where, because he says ancient Earth to like dig something up? Is it that? Is it a new type of mummy? Is it just like a complete remake? Right? Like, do they just go the full remake route and just like, hey, we're gonna just basically take the original concept, make it darker, make it more brutal, right? Kind of, make it R-rated, which I wouldn't be against at all, right? Imagine just like a darker, more intense, more brutal The Mummy. Sign me up for that, right? Like, I would take that all day. Listen, I mean, some of those scenes in The Mummy were great, and you can visualize like the horrors, like when the little scarab things are like crawling in somebody, like to have it like pop out someone's eye or whatever, right? Like you could do some pretty crazy stuff, or like when the dust gets on the person's face when they open the tomb, and all the people, or all the little workers are like screaming and rolling around. Like, what if like their faces are just being peeled off or something, like, right? Like I said, like when Emotep is like sucking their life force or whatever, right? Like, there's so many things in the first two mummies that you could, again, like really with modern tech and effects and stuff like that, really kind of hit home, really kind of make this dark. And look, like I said, sign me up for that. But I'm excited, genuinely. Something that I do think has some real potential. I hope that they don't botch it. I hope it's not one of those things where they just like ruin this franchise. I mean, look, there's some. Those Scorpion King movies and stuff like that were pretty bad. Was it the first Scorpion King wasn't terrible, right? Like, but they, like the Mummy 2, even like the third one, I didn't think it was terrible. It was entertaining, it was good, but it wasn't the first two. I'm all for. I just felt like they kind of, again, like with the Yetis and all that, it kind of got away, right? Kind of became this other thing where it was just like you have these mummies from ancient Egypt that this one particular mummy just kept coming back, right? It wasn't like this whole like there's all these monsters in the universe and whatnot, right? Like it was just, it was like, what? Like, it's just like, oh, here's this monster and that monster, right? Like, it's like, okay, so where have these things been this whole time? Like, no one knew about this stuff. Like, there's all these history books, and you have all these people that are history buffs, and no one knew about any of this stuff, right? Like, it's just, I felt like the third one kind of got a little off the rails there, rather than like, hey, you have this history, you have the mummies live forever. This one guy did this curse, and he just keeps coming back, right? If you wanted to kind of follow suit, or, maybe he comes back from the underworld, or, the Scorpion King or whatever, right? Like, I think you should have gone that route. Like, if the Scorpion King resurrects, and then now he's got to stop the Scorpion King or whatever, like, sure. Right? But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Are you excited for a potential new Mummy? Do you think, like, yeah, this would be great, this would be awesome, love to see it? Do you think Brendan Fraser has to be in this movie in some capacity? Right? I mean, like, he is the Mummy. Like, when you think of the Mummy, you think of Anck-su-namun, and then you think of Brendan Fraser. No, but in all seriousness, right? Like, you think of Brendan Fraser whenever you think of the Mummy. I mean, he was fantastic in those movies. So if you can get something like that, where he's just cameo, whatever, right? Doesn't have to be anything crazy. But yeah, what are your thoughts? How do you feel? Are you excited? Do you want a darker version? Do you want it to kind of stay PG-13? Do you want it to be kind of a mix, like dark and mysterious, or do you keep it kind of lighthearted in a lot of ways? Again, how you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. Either way, I would love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.